everybody. Welcome back to, again, The Hit with Higgins and Boni. Boni, say hello to everybody.
What's up, everyone? We're back again. We're back again, man.
Hey, man, we're excited to have you back. I know everybody who watches is excited to have you back. But before we go into everything we're going to talk about today, one more time, I'm going to endorse Who's Drankin'. First sponsor for The Hit. Guys, their merch drop is January 3rd. It's coming up real soon. So make sure you follow them on Instagram. Follow our account on Instagram because we're going to be releasing all the details coming up in the next few days, few weeks. It's really cool stuff. I'm wearing my shirt right now. Take a look. Buy some. It's awesome stuff. We believe in this, so you guys should believe in it too. But for now, we're going to talk about the new college football free agency, which is the transfer portal. And we've seen throughout the past few weeks all these top talent guys entering the portal and finding new homes. Guys like Quinn Ewers, Spencer Radler, Max Johnson, just to name a few. And we're going to be diving into that today. So we're not going to waste any time. First guy, like I just mentioned, Quinn Ewers. So Boni, you're an Ohio kid. You got to see him a little bit play at Ohio State, at practice at least. Why don't you talk about Quinn Ewers?
I think this has like the most potential and maybe the most impactful transfer that we'll see, possibly out of all the quarterbacks they're moving, in my opinion. He's the second highest recruit of all time, like in the whole recruiting kind of era of where we have these recruiting geniuses that, look at 18-year-olds and kind of evaluate how good they are. But this guy's like the second highest prospect of all time, not even quarterback prospect. So I think there's a lot of merit to that. I think every Ohio State fan that I've really talked to really believes in this guy. I mean, his arm, he kind of has a total package. Obviously, I personally have not seen him play because, I'm not at practice at Ohio State, clearly. But I think the situation he joins, I think it makes a ton of sense. He's obviously a Texas guy. He was formerly committed at the University of Texas. And I think with Sark, their head coach, and Bijan Robinson, the running back, who's absolutely phenomenal. And you could have argued at one point during the season that, this guy could make a Heisman push if Texas was a lot better than what they were. I think with those two kind of pieces already there, I think there's a blueprint and there's an element of Texas, slowly starting to kind of turn the corner, even though we've been saying this for like 15 years.
Yeah, I feel like we've been saying that for like way too long, that Texas is back, and they just haven't been back yet.
Yeah, no, but I don't think they've had a quarterback of the quality or caliber of Quinn Ewers, especially around the hype that he's kind of getting.
Not since Vince Young have they had a guy come in with this much hype. I mean, Vince Young was exactly the same rate as a high school prospect coming to Texas. So hopefully it works out for him in Texas. I don't think so, though. It's Texas. It's just
they'll probably find a way to screw it up, but I still think like with just all the raw ability that he kind of has, and he's a pretty athletic kid. So I think I think this can potentially become a kind of a program changing kind of acquisition, as you like to call it, even though you're really not giving anything up. It could be comparable to Deshaun Watson going to Clemson in terms of kind of the impact he might leave on that program. Because prior to, Deshaun Watson really going to Clemson, there wasn't like Dabo was like slowly building that program. He had like CJ Spiller, he had guys like DeAndre Hopkins during the same time period. But Deshaun Watson was really the guy that really elevated that Clemson program to what it is over the past, 7-8 years. Obviously not this past season, but to that elite caliber college program that, exists. So you never know with these transfers. It could be a Spencer Rattler situation, which we'll definitely get to him later, or it could be, the coming back of Texas, the savior of Texas football.
We'll see, man. Time will tell. But let's get into Spencer Rattler a little bit because, he's been in the national spotlight for a couple of years now. Everyone saw him on QB1 and how much of a douchebag he was on that show. I'm like, I would never want to play for a quarterback like that. And I've said that on the show before. I would never, ever want to play as a teammate with Spencer Rattler, just the way he acts like in the locker room and on the practice field. But his talent is undeniable. I mean, 2020, he started a full slate of games. He threw for over 3,000 yards and had a 28-7 touchdown interception ratio. So he can play. And he lost his spot to a guy who I think he can be a Heisman winner, number 1 overall pick type of guy, Caleb Williams. Guy is electric, man. So Spencer Rattler now finds himself at South Carolina. And in the SEC, he's not at a high-end football school. He's not at Alabama. He's not at Texas A&M. He's not at LSU. He's at South Carolina, which how much success he has there, I'm not really sure. What are your thoughts? Oh, no.
No, we're good. What
You good?
What did you say? Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? I mean, I don't see Spencer Rattler having any kind of success like you would at Oklahoma, especially in the wide open Big 12 with all that offense and so little defense. South Carolina and the SEC, you're not really top end SEC. How does that? I don't see that working out very well for him. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think this is the most kind of confusing transfer, I believe, just because he does have his former like kind of assistant coach and Shane Beamer, who's the head coach now at South Carolina. He is bringing a tight end, Austin Stoger, who was second team All Big 12, which I think is a good acquisition, especially if you're going to bring in a guy like Spencer Rattler. Some familiarity would be nice, but he's in a better conference. He has a worse team around him than comparing to Oklahoma, and like he's going to have less pressure there, which I think maybe is the reason that kind of got to him, because fans were just kind of berating him and just were all over him in terms of the "we want Caleb" chance that he got. Maybe that new scenery and less pressure will help. But yeah, I don't really. Obviously, he's a very capable guy. He's a very capable quarterback. I mean, but it'll be interesting. I think this is one of the more fascinating transfers as well, because you really don't know what you're going to get here.
No, you don't. But also, to speak on what you said about the pressure thing, yeah, it's not national championship pressure because no one's going to expect South Carolina to compete for that this year, but it's still SEC football pressure. It exists, So I know he's got Beamer there and he's got his tight end there. I'm blanking on his name. You said it earlier. He's got some guys there that he's familiar with, but I don't.
Yeah.
It like you said, it's a very perplexing situation. Look at that SET word right there. It doesn't make any sense. Like I think he's a West Coast kid. What? I know he looked at UCLA. I thought that would be a better fit for him. And he looked at. I'm sure he looked at Arizona and Arizona State because he's from that state. So for him to pick South Carolina over certain other situations doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, but I think if you do look at the SEC East, I think it is a little weaker than the SEC West when you have like the kind of the blue bloods. So maybe he thought, hey, maybe like I could elevate this program, but they have not been very good. So I think it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, but of course, for everybody watching, like time will tell on these kids. No one. It's not like anybody expected Joe Burrow to win the Heisman when he went to LSU. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what system he's going to be put into and how they're going to fare against other opponents and what receivers they've got coming up. Who knows? Next guy I want to talk about, though, is a guy who is kind of underrated as far as all these transfer quarterbacks go, and that's Dillon Gabriel. So Dillon Gabriel transferred from Central Florida. He's now going to UCLA. And in 3 years as the starter at UCF, put up unreal numbers and had, a great win-to-loss ratio. I mean, Dillon Gabriel in 2020 threw for 3,500 yards, 32 touchdowns, only 4 picks. And he's been fortunate to play under guys like Josh Heupel. And he got to play under, wow, holy crap, I'm blanking on his name now.
Scott Frost, possibly?
Gus Malzahn.
Malzahn. Yeah.
And I don't think he was there when Scott Frost was there, but he's been able to play under some pretty good offensive minds. He's now going to UCLA. I'm excited about this one because I don't think DTR is coming back. I'm guessing that's what this means. So he's going to have an opportunity to start right away. And as far as pressure, there's no pressure out on the West Coast. None. No one cares about the West Coast anymore.
No, I agree. I mean, I think this is kind of a home run, especially if DTR leaves, which is, I think, being reported. I don't.
Right.
You probably know better than me if he's kind of that NFL caliber type of quarterback.
You know what? He's really not an NFL caliber quarterback. He really isn't, which makes the move a little surprising. But I think if he's going, he must know something that we don't.
Yeah.
He's got to know. I mean, I don't think he would go there if he wasn't promised a starting spot.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with that. And just for like some context, he is coming off an injury, I believe, or he got replaced at UCF, which is a little concerning. But I mean, this guy's career stats are kind of ridiculous. I mean, he has thrown for over 8,000 yards and has 70 touchdowns, and he can run the ball too, which I know is a dynamic that Chip Kelly has in his offense at UCLA. So I think this is one of those home runs that like this is why the transfer portal is useful for coaches. I mean, you can upgrade at a position that you maybe like a guy's leaving and you're losing, 2 to 3 quarterbacks that are in the portal looking to go somewhere else, where you can plug in a guy like Dylan Gabriel who can really, there's really not a huge drop off in kind of your quarterback from last year to this year. So I think this is a great move for him and for UCLA.
No, you're replacing experience with experience. That's what college coaches are now looking to do as far as the quarterback position. They're losing guys to the NFL or to transfers, and they want somebody with that experience to come in and take that spot from day one, which is why all these kids are leaving and all these kids are finding new spots to start right away. And besides Gabriel, one of my favorite ones that happened over the past week was Max Johnson going to Texas A&M, because I think that's a home run for Texas A&M, because the kid is talented. He's got NFL bloodlines. His dad was a Super Bowl winning NFL quarterback. Granted, he was on the team with probably the best defense in NFL history, at least one of 3, but he's got an NFL pedigree. His brother's now going with him too, who's a 5-star tight end. And Texas A&M's a good football team, and you saw what happened at the quarterback position last year. Haynes King got hurt to start. Zach Calcada was the backup who entered the transfer portal as well. Now they're replacing those 2 guys with Max Johnson, who his numbers were actually better than I expected at LSU last year. I didn't think he did that well, but he threw for 2,800 yards and 27 touchdowns with only 6 picks. It's pretty good. And I mean, LSU wasn't very good last year, but I don't really chalk that up to him. That team was undergoing a coach who was on his way out the door. You were losing talent. It's hard to win when that's the situation. But I don't know. What were your thoughts on that?
I think LSU was very dysfunctional last year when you have your head coach kind of bringing like his girlfriends or whatever to practice and having no fun.
Well, Coach O pulls like that, man.
I mean, we got to give the do. But I agree. Knocking the door of a team that's good enough to do well. So yes, I think this makes a ton of sense. He is a starter in the SEC West, so I don't think there'll be a huge adjustment in terms of like, who you're playing against, the preparation that it takes to play in the SEC West compared to maybe other teams, schools, players. I have no idea. I haven't played college football, but we do play collegiate sports. But I think there is an element of kind of, familiarity that will be nice and I think will be useful. I think another guy that I think will be also, I mean, not him, but I think him and the school hit a home run is Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix going to Oregon makes a ton of sense. For starters, Bo Nix has been very, very good at Auburn when he's been healthy. I mean, I don't know his numbers off the top of my head. Maybe you do better than me, but I think he's going to a team that has a better record. They're in terms of, kind of looking at the record and on paper, the team is better. He's going to worse conference. He's playing the Pac-12, and I think there's going to be less pressure in terms of like a national standpoint where not all the eyes are going to be on him to perform. He is coming off an injury, which can be a little bit of concern, but he's reuniting with his former offensive coordinator, Kenny Dillingham, when he did win the SEC Freshman of the Year. So I think this makes a ton of sense. I think this move, obviously Oregon needed a quarterback this year. If you watch them play, I think they were really a quarterback away from really, cementing themselves as a potentially a playoff team. I mean, at one point they were third in the country, really knocking at the door, but the loss to Utah really hurt them. But I mean, I think this makes a ton of sense. I don't know if this elevates him as like an NFL prospect or by any stretch of the imagination, but he does have 2 years left of eligibility. And I mean, we'll see where this goes.
Yeah. I mean, with Nix, I've never been a huge fan of Bo Nix. I mean, last year, stat wise, 2,200 yards, 11 touchdowns in like 9 games. So it's not superb statistic wise, but he's a prototype quarterback. So this will, if he performs, will enhance his stock going into 2023 draft now. And Oregon has gone through the transfer portal for their last 2 starting quarterbacks after Herbert left. Did Anthony Brown come over from Boston College? Now you have Bo Nix. And like you said, he's going back to his old offensive coordinator. He's not playing in the SEC. He's playing the Pac-12. A lot less eyes. But at the same time, Oregon was in the national championship conversation for pretty much the entire season. So he's not going to a bad team. He's going to an exceptional team. And like you said, they need a quarterback to put it all together. So if he can perform, then yes, it'd be a great acquisition for Oregon. But I'm not too high on him. I'm really not. I think he has all the physical talent that he could possibly ever want. Something up there, something up here, I think is stopping him. Of course, I'm not Bo Nix, so I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, I think you could see that because I think after his freshman year, I think you probably would have had high expectations for him, elevate his team. And Auburn just hasn't been, the quality team that we've really come accustomed to, especially during our generation over the past 10, 15 years, where you've had guys like Cam Newton and, you've had really competitive teams, make it to the national championship game, win national championship games, beat Alabama, which has been a pretty hard test to complete. But yeah, you would have expected a guy like Bo Nix to kind of elevate his program and his team when maybe there isn't as much talent at Auburn, which there's plenty of talent at Auburn if we're going to be realistic. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously it was a very underwhelming experience, as you kind of alluded to, and maybe a fresh start will help him out.
Who knows, man? Who knows? I want to move on to a different guy, and it's a guy that nobody knows. It's a guy that nobody knows. His name is Cameron Ward. I don't know if you've read anything about him, Boni, but this guy is a freaking stud. Like, let me preface this by saying he was a starting quarterback at Incarnate Word. All right? So it's a D2 school, and not like a high-end D2 school, but he was a starting quarterback at Incarnate Word last year. He threw for 4,600 yards and 46 touchdowns last year as a starting quarterback there.
Yeah, not bad.
Was not bad at all. Not bad at all. He wasn't a highly talented high school recruit, but now he's in the portal and he's getting all these Power 5 looks. And a lot of people are mocking him to go to Ole Miss next year, which I think would be huge. A guy who's putting up those gaudy numbers, granted in D2, but he's putting up unreal numbers going to Lane Kiffin's offense. Man, that'd be something special. I don't know how much you read about this kid, but I have
not read a lot
on my feed.
Yeah, I've not read a lot about Cameron Ward, but the first thing I saw on Google is Lane Kiffin, boomer bust for Cameron Ward, which I think, I mean, if he's putting up those type of numbers and he's that quality, and I think those offers that are coming in, I think that speaks to kind of the level of talent that he is. I don't think it's going to be the first time that a Division II or Division III player makes that jump to high end Division I football, because I don't think the talent drop is as big as other people really see it as, especially just from our own personal experiences of playing sports. I think you see it all the time where there's always going to be one or two to three guys that are really like deserving to play at that level, but something works out to where they didn't really make that jump or necessarily commit to that school. So I think, yeah, this makes a ton of sense. Obviously, Ole Miss needs a quarterback because, Matt Corral is definitely leaving and going to the NFL, where he'll be, I think, a first-round pick.
Yeah,
we'll see how successful he is, but he'll be a first-round pick for sure. I mean, the way he's elevated Ole Miss as well, I think has been really impressive as well. So I think there is a need for quarterback, and yeah, a guy that throws for 42 touchdowns, not a bad replacement, no matter where he plays at. So.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen. I mean, Matt Corral and Lane Kiffin have done an absolutely great job building Ole Miss back into something where it's at least respectable. I mean, they're a top 15 team right now, which is more than good. That's great. And as long as Lane Kiffin's there, and he's never been the most stable guy as far as the head coaching position, but if he can stay there and keep building on that, and if this guy coming from D2 can have that same success, he'll be lights out next year. But, of course, that's a lot to ask somebody. And like you said, we both know being D1 doesn't mean you're always the best.
Nope, it does not.
I mean, we're coming from the lacrosse world where it definitely doesn't mean anything, It does, it's just a division. So we'll see what kind of success he can have. But, let's keep moving along because I know we got this time limit going. Boni, any guy you want to talk about? Somebody pops out?
Yeah, I think I didn't realize that this guy left his school, but I think Michael Penix going to Washington is another interesting and fascinating kind of transfer. If you remember, not this year, but the past year, Indiana was a very, very good football team. I mean, he was one of the main reasons why his team was very, very good. I don't know his numbers off the top of my head, but that team was kind of relied on him to keep it Willem and keep him in games. Especially, I think I remember when they played Ohio State, he had an absolute field day against them. And I mean, anybody that really has a day against Ohio State in the Big Ten, where the talent gap is extremely, wide, I think it says something to him. I think going to a program like Washington, who's hasn't they haven't reached kind of the level of when they had I think it was Jake Browning. Was that
Jake
2015
Brown,
when
yeah,
they
you got
made
it, man. You got it.
when they made
The playoff.
playoff, got embarrassed. And they haven't reached recently. I don't think he's necessarily right to use some compared to other. I mean, Joe Burrow was a transfer, Kyler Murray was a transfer, Cam Newton was a transfer. So I think there is a method to this madness. I think for some guys it really works out. They become the first overall pick. They win the Heisman. They win the national championship in some cases, aka Mr. Joey B and Cam Newton. So there is a track record to this. And you know what? Maybe one of these guys, they go on to their school, they absolutely shock the world. And you know what? Hey, I hit a ring. I win the Heisman. Pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah,
So,
and you know what? It's not. It wouldn't be the first time. I mean, like you said, there's Cam Newton, there's Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. Guys like Troy Aikman was a transfer. He went from Oklahoma to UCLA. Nick Foles. All my Philly fans love Nick Foles. He was a transfer, Michigan State to Arizona.
Yeah,
so it's very possible to transfer and have success. And listen, I was at Penn State when Penn State was playing Indiana at Indiana in 2020, when Michael Penix reached out and got that last 2-point conversion to win the game against Penn State. And all my friends were freaking out, and I was having the time of my life. It was so fun because Penn State fans can just be the worst. Basically, if you're a Pennsylvania sports fan, you're the worst. You're just the worst. Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, Penn State. Not Pitt doesn't count. Pitt's like this side of Pennsylvania. It's just they're the worst.
Eastern Pennsylvania. You're just hating on your people.
I am. Well, I'm Jersey, man. Come on.
Yeah, you are Jersey.
I'm pretty Jersey.
Member of New Jersey.
You're an honorary member too, Boni, because you had fun at the Jersey Shore, so you're an honorary member.
Yeah, I also have plenty of friends from Jersey as well. So I mean, Jersey's a nice place. It really changed my perspective on New Jersey, visiting and kind of meeting the people. It's like, hey, this place is not as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
It's not, man. It gets a bad rap for no reason. I get that there's a lot of people you don't want to talk to, but that's every state. Yeah,
it really is. I mean, I think the Jersey Shore doesn't really help itself at all when you think of that being your stereotypical New Jersey.
No, like there's people on the Jersey Shore that look like they come right off the show. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very true. Oh man, that was good.
But it's fun, man. But you enjoy it. All right. I want to go over one more guy before we end the show today. And that's a guy who actually just transferred in the last hour. That's Kedon Slovis. He's heading from USC to replace Kenny Pickett at Pittsburgh. And Kedon Slovis, when he was a freshman at USC, got a lot of hype for like Heisman. Like he was crushing it, and USC was playing well. And when you watched him on film, he wasn't doing anything very impressive. He looked pretty average, but they were winning, so it was cool. And then this year, everything he kind of bottomed out. Didn't do much. He got replaced at one point by Jackson Dart, who I'm really high on, by the way. So he's out. He's not going to go replace Kenny Pickett at Pittsburgh. I think, like we've talked about with a bunch of different guys, it's less pressure going from USC to Pitt. And Pitt has been on the rise, but it's still not, they're not Pitt from the 70s and 80s. They're not like a dynamic, dominant football team. They're a good football team, but they're also in Pittsburgh. They're in the ACC, so it's not at the height of the Power 5 conferences. And he'll have a chance to succeed there because Coach Narduzzi is a great coach, and we've seen that all year. I think he has a real chance to succeed there. Does he help his NFL chances? I doubt it. I don't see him as an NFL guy, but I think he can have success there. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I think he threw for over 2,000 yards. He had 11 touchdowns, which is not the most world-beating numbers you'll ever see. But I think there is something there. If you can find that kind of his freshman year kind of form that he had, I think, yeah, there's definitely somebody there. And I think, especially with the development of Kenny Pickett over the past couple of years, where he kind of went from a guy that, if you follow the ACC, you follow, that kind of, if you follow Pittsburgh pretty much, you knew who he was, but he really elevated stage and hey, messed around, came out maybe within the conference, but I definitely think the move makes sense, especially if you've seen that type of production of Mr. Kenny Pickett. But again, you never know. There's gonna be less pressure. If you've ever seen a Pittsburgh football game, they're kind of funny. At the beginning of the year, there wasn't really a lot of people at Heinz Stadium where they play. They play where the Pittsburgh Steelers play, and then once towards the end of the season, Kenny Pickett had that place sold out, man, because he was the show, man. He was the business. So
Nah, Kenny's a stud, man, and he's gonna be. I think he'll be the number one quarterback taken in this draft. And also, Bonnie, guess where Kenny Pickett's from?
where is Kenny Pickett from? Yeah, probably.
Jersey Shore,
Yeah,
baby. Come on.
yeah, yeah. I threw you an absolute lob. Whatever, man.
He's a
Whatever.
lock. He's a lock. Dude, all the Giants fans want him, and all the Pittsburgh fans want him. So it's like he's got two ties, like tying him to different NFL franchises, and they both want him. So, or at least
Yeah,
both
no,
fan bases want him.
yeah. I think this offseason is going to be really fascinating in the NFL because you'll have some major moves from quarterbacks and some major decisions being made. But
Yeah,
obviously with kind of him and Corral and I think Malik Willis from Liberty, I think there's some prospects that teams will be inclined to talk to and maybe select down the pike. So
the
not
NFL,
like last year, but
the NFL quarterback carousel is going to exchange a lot like this transfer portal has unfolded this offseason. Think about it. You're going to have 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, I think. It's going to be Pickett, Willis, Corral, Howell, Ritter. I think will all go first round. Maybe even Carson Strong. So that's 6 possible first-round quarterbacks. I think if Aaron Rodgers doesn't retire, he'll be on the move. I think you can see Derek Carr on the move, Jimmy G on the move, Kirk Cousins on the move, Deshaun Watson maybe on the move, Russell Wilson maybe on the move. You can see a bunch of these guys going to new places. It's gonna be a fun offseason. I'm excited. And I also am a Jets fan, so I have nothing else to look forward to than the offseason.
Hey, you guys are kind of, you've doubled your wins from last year, so you can't really complain.
We have.
And they've been competitive.
And the pack looked great, man. First in the NFC.
Yeah, they look really good. This is kind of the last dance, as they kind of alluded to, even though they have not won 5 rings, but whatever,
Hey,
we'll see where this goes. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully it does happen.
Hopefully, man. We'll see. I'll be if they get that far, I might be rooting for you. I got a buddy who I don't think he's watching it, but we've talked about him. He's delusional.
Yeah, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback of all time, but he's certainly you could argue that he's the greatest Packer quarterback of all time.
Oh no, I would say he's he was absolutely the greatest Packer quarterback of all time. I think, and he's a top 3 quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah, I just wish he had more of the resume to back it up in terms of like Super Bowl titles and stuff like that. But just like the eye test, it's phenomenal watching every week. The guy is a gunslinger and he doesn't turn the ball over.
No,
he's literally Brett Favre and doesn't turn the ball over.
He's
it's
Brett
kind
Favre,
of
but smart Brett Favre, like the one that's like not on painkillers.
Yeah, or the
That's
one
horrible.
that's not doing Wrangler jeans.
That's horrible.
Nah, it's okay. It's all good.
Man.
I wasn't alive for it, but he did give a Super Bowl, and he was an MVP at one point. So there's a ton of respect there for Brett Favre.
Oh, of course, I respect. Yeah, as a player, absolutely. No, Aaron Rodgers is the best Packer quarterback of all time. He might be the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Probably is. All time now.
Was Aaron Rodgers a transfer technically?
He was.
He graduated from
JUCO transfer.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, where'd he go? He went to.
He went to. Yeah, I don't know what he says it during NBC's broadcast.
Yeah.
He always shouts it out, but I don't remember.
No, I think it's Butte Community College.
Yeah, good call on that one. Yep.
I nailed it. Come on.
Butte to California.
That's right, baby. I know my stuff.
I know you know your stuff. That might have to be clipped up and put on Instagram.
I think I'm going to.
Like that was impressive. That was on the spot.
I know my stuff, man.
And you could tell he wasn't typing either because you could see his hands
Oh, right
moving.
here.
I mean, he that was in the brain. Give
Oh
him
yeah.
that. That was
Come on.
impressive.
I know my stuff, man. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. We're so happy to have Boni back on the show with us, man. It just makes it so much better. And I'm sure for people watching, it's a lot better to listen to the both of us go back and forth than just me talking at you for 30 minutes. So I'm happy to have him back. I know you guys are too. Boni, last words for the folks.
No, obviously, I'm happy to be back. We're gonna be producing these out like wildfire. I'm very excited, and I'm thankful for Mr. Higgins for letting me speak some football, even though I may not be qualified to. But hey, I might know enough I might know enough in the heads, Yeah, I was prepared.
Today, man.
The
You know your
first,
stuff.
yeah, well, yeah. So yeah, obviously we'll be talking about the wide ranges of sports, but we thought this was kind of important, and might as well do what you think is important. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. That's it to conclude today's show. We will see you guys next week. Again, be on the lookout for all the merch drop information for Who's Drankin', and follow us on Instagram. We'll see you guys next week.